Here we are with Thomas Wade. He's just finished a concert here at the Coach and Lantern in the upper room, and it was packed with your loved ones, your family, your friends, everyone that cares, you know. But no, there's a lot more people that get. Thomas Wade is an incredible international star, and here he is sitting in our presence. It's unbelievable. I had the honors of buying this beautiful record, and it is beautiful.
You're going to sell me some Swampland now?
Well, we could. So he does have this beautiful record, and can we see inside? Can we see the beautiful record?
Let's do it like an unpackaging video, right? Those things are cool, right?
Those things get a lot of hits.
They do.
That's right. So here we are with Thomas Wade and his beautiful record.
So there's the...
It's just like the Blue Notes.
There we go. That I ripped that off a Blue Note, yes. And it says 33 1/3 micro groove long playing.
The best sound.
Thomas Wade, Blue Country Soul. So that was pretty happening. Like this was like a dream of mine, right? If I was going to make a record again, I decided I was going to make a record because I've been saying I'm making a new record for years and years and years. And you know, of course, there were always CDs, right? And everybody said you don't make records no more, right? So when I made a record, it was going to be I'm making a record. And I'm so happy that they're kind of back in style. So.
Oh, they are. And this is a beautiful record, isn't it? It's so shiny, so gorgeous, and it's going to sound great.
Very heavy gauge too. It's actually, yeah, it sounds really good.
Yes.
I was so happy.
I can't wait to play it.
I played it on my mother's stereo when I first got it. She had one of those great big console stereos, you know, the big wooden.
It's a piece of furniture.
They're so beautiful. You know, when you turn it on, you push the button, it goes pop, shh. Right, so we did that.
And that 5 seconds of shh, and then Thomas Wade music comes out. So this is fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to hearing this record. And I'm so glad that you made a record, an album that is legit vinyl. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
And this is your first one, correct?
Actually, no. The first piece of music I ever released was on record when I was, I don't know, 17 or something like that. We did a couple of 45s, and you know that was a big deal. And we have them somewhere, but I don't encourage people to play them because they're really embarrassing. Really embarrassing. So.
Well, that's okay. We've got this now. Yeah. This beauty. This is fantastic. So,
never happened.
How many albums do you have altogether?
I think altogether, actually 4. I think. You know, there's some that are. You know, different mixes of different things and that sort of thing. Like I didn't, you know, and I had some things out before, you know, I just had singles. Like I had a single out in 1991, I think, with a band that I was in called Wildlife, and you know, and that, you know, it didn't do gangbusters, but it did really well in Norway. Boy, they loved us in Norway.
Well, there you go. And which record would you consider the most successful?
Without a doubt, as far as monetary success, and you know, I would say that Thomas Wade and Wayward, that album was very successful with airplay. You know, it had 7 singles off of it. It had, you know, and they all did really, really well. All videos too. But Lucky 13, given that it was the next one, and it was my sort of going, okay, I don't care anymore. I'm gonna do what I want to do now. It had 6 singles off of it too, and 6 videos off of it, and you know, it did really well. It had a top 10 off of it too. So, you know, it wasn't that bad. This one, you know, of course, almost 0 airplay, but I don't care. I wasn't going to make a record to get airplay because it would make a different record. Now I didn't want to do that, so.
Yeah, I love that. I love the genuineness of that. That's wonderful. And so that was between 1996 and 1999 that you would say it was the most successful sort of years for you until 2004 with Celine Dion.
We were on stage we were like all over the world, you know, not the world, but you know, we were busy. We were on stage all the time, and we were on radio, we were on TV, we were very busy. So, yeah.
And you were traveling with Marie Petrel before this, is that right? And what were you, a long time ago? Would you say that's where you got your feet wet in the traveling and the touring?
Oh yeah, that was my first experience with actual touring, and that came right out of college. I was in music industry arts at London in Fanshawe, and yeah, that was. I had a little band that we'd put together of guys that were going there, going to that school, and including Paul Newell, who was in my first band, and they heard of us somehow. I don't know how Marie Bottrell's people heard of us, and so they came and auditioned us. And of course, at that time, I knew Marie Bottrell, and to me, she was a star. So, and they're auditioning us. So I'm like, crap in my drawers. Play faster. I can play good fast, But they liked us, and that was the first time I actually went out on the road per se and played bigger venues, and boy, that was a great experience. And plus, I did some writing with Marie as well, and so she, really, and she hooked me up with a lot of people who were, had some real stuff going on. So, yeah, I have a lot to thank her for.
That's amazing. She's a great woman. I've met her and sung with her as well, and she's just fantastic. Love it, yeah. And that's so great that you had that beginning, and that gave you a taste for touring, and then it sort of, gave you the push you needed, perhaps, to get into your own thing. And then you went to Nashville.
Yeah, I went to Nashville. Nashville was a real great learning experience for me because, I'd been writing songs, but there's something that a real seasoned pro can teach you that nobody else can teach you. And I wanted to learn really bad. And so I went down to Nashville the first time, and right before I went to get my hair cut. And I don't know if you remember Jack Wagner on General Hospital, I think it was, and he sang it. He had a hit song too. And he had this haircut. And I thought, wow, that's a cool haircut. I want that haircut. So I went to somebody to get that haircut. Totally ruined my hair. Shaved the sides of my head. It was like I was, in a punk band or something. And I'm going to Nashville, right? So I went down there, and all the time I'm aware my hair is really weird, man. And I went down there, and I started writing with a guy named Bill Shore. And Bill Shore, he wrote Wild Horses, that's on the Garth Brooks record, right? So, yeah. And he hadn't written that at that time, I don't think, but he'd written some other songs that really had done well. So he was a real deal, had Pride Music in Nashville. And that guy, just big old Texan guy, said very little, but the little that he said just meant a lot. And that was a big deal for me. That taught me how to write.
That's amazing. That's a really beautiful story. And where you get your inspiration from, your writing, you mentioned relationships are a part of it, and you started writing when you were 7 years old?
Yes.
Yeah. And your mother was quite a singer. Yes. You mentioned in the concert this evening that you had two moms, right? And that meant a lot to you, I could tell when you were saying that. And so the influence of music was always there, with the Johnny Cash, the Elvis, the Jerry Lee Lewis, those kind of influences. So do you feel like in your writing you have taken those forms in terms of musical forms, things like that, and then used them, in your own writing? Or would you say that you've just created your own genre because you have, I would say, the most soulful country singing voice that I've heard? You sing.
So sweet.
It's true. You can sing Bill Withers, and then you go and sing 0 to 60. Like it's pretty amazing.
That is so sweet. Thank you so much. That's very sweet. Well, I think that I've always had a very eclectic love of music. I grew up listening to country, and I started playing guitar, sitting around the table with my mom and my dad, and also my uncle was a champion fiddle player. So I learned how to play with a fiddle player, which that's real, that's boot camp, right? Because you don't know what they're going to do. So it was awesome, My family and that uncle started my first band. But I've been voracious in my love of music and my desire to just absorb everything that I could. So I went through, when I was a really little kid, I listened to, Johnny Cash was my first hero, and, the songs my mother sang were really, like K-Star, Patsy Cline. So, you get where that sort of soulful thing comes from, right? And then later on, I started listening to R&B, when I was, listening to the radio when I was 14, 15 years old. So that got in the mix, and the Beatles were in the mix. I always say that as far as being a writer and a producer, I was born when I put on Abbey Road, because that was just like, oh wow, what you can do. But to answer your question, I found that so many of the styles that I've listened to and absorbed, I find them in my music. So often I find myself playing something and I go, where have I heard that? And it's like, oh, that's James Burton. I'm ripping off James Burton all the time, and I kind of didn't realize it. Elvis is there all the time. James Ingram is there. Nobody knows probably who that is, but great R&B singer, soul singer. The song, just once, can't we figure out what we keep doing wrong, right? James Ingram, so that guy's in there too. And, Charlie Rich is in there. A lot of my productions, I listen back and I go, I ripped off Charlie Rich, And, yeah.
That's amazing. Music comes from music, right? And art comes from art. And that's the kind of the inspiration that I think most musicians, they don't always know where they get their songs from. It just happens because of all the listening they've done. And you've done your job with absorbing all of this music. That's amazing. Just wondered if you have sat in the same room as Celine Dion and
No.
You haven't actually met her.
No, that would be a good lie, though. I should probably try that. Yeah, Celine and I, well, the reason she got the song was, we were just hanging at Starbucks. She likes frappuccinos. She likes the frappuccino. The cool, it's good for her throat, And, so we were hanging, and, she said, so, Tomas. Anyway, no, I've never met Celine Dion. I tell you though, the morning that I first heard that song sung by her, because that's a real trip, right? You write a song, and and I love the song, and everybody kept saying, Disney, big deal about this song, and then when I found out that Celine Dion was potentially going to record it, I wasn't told she is recording it. I was told she might record it. And they just kept me waiting. Nobody really told me definitively until maybe like 2 weeks before. And then, and I'm like, oh my God. And the morning that the record came out, my wife got up before me and went to Walmart, which opens at 7 o'clock, and got the first copy, and came back and woke me up playing my song to me with Celine Dion singing it. And it was like, holy crap. Because that's something. That was a really special moment. So that's as close as I've ever gotten to Celine Dion. So to Celine, I got to say to you, much love. Thank you for paying off a few credit cards. And hope we can do it again sometime.
Exactly. There you go. That's incredible. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us this evening, and we look forward to hearing more from you, more songs, hopefully, and your songwriting is incredible, and keep singing and playing, and you look as young as you did in '97. So there you go. So thank you. With Thomas Wade signing out, I'm Laura Lee McGurl. All right.